section during the session. My name is Richard Sawyer, so I'm Head of Innovation and AI. Thank you for recording. And I am joined by Ellie. You want to introduce yourself, Ellie?
Sorry, rookie error. I'm Ellie. I'm Event and Programme Coordinator for ONF.
So Ellie's underselling herself there. She keeps the Finance Innovation Forum and lots of other bits and pieces on the rails where they need to be and helps me get where I'm always getting to. So thank you very much, Ellie, for joining us. Right, so we're going to have a bit of fun today. So obviously the reason you're here is the process optimization bit, not the AI bit. That's not the interesting bit. It's definitely you're all here for process optimization. We're going to go through some bits and pieces on the AI front. Then we're going to jump into breakout groups, and you will, I'm sure, have all brought processes with you that you have in mind that you're thinking about optimizing at some point. So you're going to break into groups. You're going to essentially try to map a process, one of them all together, and you're going to share them back in the chat. And then I'm going to do some live AI engineering with you on M365 Copilot chat, which I'm going to introduce you all to in a second. They're going to help, the AI is going to help redesign that process to be more efficient within all the constraints that exist within each of your organizations. And then if you want, you can have a go and do that along with other processes. And then we're going to talk, if we've got time, about some of the AIs have built and all the barriers that might exist. But ultimately what you'll get from this is by the end, you'll go away with enough resources and confidence to begin mapping your processes in your organization, and we can talk about the how and the why of all of it at the end if we've got time. Wow, I can tell everyone's absolutely buzzing with excitement. I know this is what I get up for, out of bed in the morning. Yes, Chris Barker with the cheer and the hands in the air. Thank you very much. Anyone that's just joined, please put your cameras on. We're going to go into breakout rooms shortly. So I'm just going to share my screen, and then we're going to go into the next bit. So, okay. That's a boring title slide. So, let's start off about the future. We asked a load of frontier LLMs. Oh, what's a frontier LLM? Not going to drown you all in lingo at the moment, but an LLM, whenever you hear it said, is a large language model. Okay, and essentially a large language model is just this artificially intelligent machine brain that exists. You may have heard of ChatGPT. Yeah, that's by a company called OpenAI. So that's Sam Altman in the news quite a bit. Grok, you will have all heard about Grok. Got a bit of a bias problem, does Grok? That's our friend Elon Musk, or not friend Elon Musk, depending on how you look at him. Llama is built by Meta, so that's the Zuckerberg that seems to earn every social media app that's going. Then we've got Gemini, that's Google. So each of these different ones have different versions. They're not numerically ordered, which is mental, which makes it very difficult to work out what they're doing with them. But essentially, the way to think about it is these are all separate and briefed in different ways, artificially intelligent brains, large language models. So when you hear LLM, that's what that means. And can I have a show of hands just to catch the room? How many of you have used AI? Put up your digital or physical hand. Okay, that's a good proportion of you. So if you could take down your hand, but keep it up if you're using it every day. Okay, that's good. We're looking good, right? There's about 10 of you there. So, and finally, could you put down your hands, but keep your hand up if you're paying for it personally, so outside of work, so you're pro ChatGPT or whatever. Okay, great. Matthew Crichton, could you tell me what you use it for, please?
Yeah, I use it for a lot of summary information. So a lot of the business cases that come through, for example, just to get to the point or narrow them down to the key points. Yeah, I use it a lot for that. Yeah, I use it a lot just to find out anything in my role related to finance, whether it might be legal related or just something outside of my direct kind of environment, and then just during, I guess, outside of work as well, just anything really. tips what
There
to
we
do for the
go.
day with kids and anything like that, really.
And that's exactly the answer. It is literally anything and everything. So I tried to Google the other day. It was an absolute disaster. I won't be trying that again. The way that people are working on using these AI tools, and they are tools, not your friend, and we can get to that a bit later. But the way people are using these AI tools is significant, but it is irreversible and is changing the way that humans work day to day in work and obviously outside work as well. So what we did was we asked a collection of these frontier AI LLMs. And when we say frontier, this is, all these different brains have different performance metrics. The frontier ones are the ones leading the pack in terms of capability and scale. Okay. So we asked a load of those frontier LLMs, what's the role of NHS finance in the future? Came up with this. Anyone think they sort of recognize and go, gosh, that's literally my organization written down on a page? Potentially not. But we all need something to hope for, and messages of hope and purpose come from these sort of things. So how do we move closer to these areas? And there's another 2 presentations that I do in different areas when I'm going to speak. We can talk about the purpose and the mechanics of doing that. We're not going to do that today. We're going to do something very practical. But I just want to touch on now. So 60% of the jobs in finance today will not exist in XX years' time. Shout out, put your hand up, put in the chat. I don't mind any of the above. Any guesses as to what XX is? Can't hear anyone shout out. Feel free, don't be shy. And let's see in the chat what we've got.
10.
3 from Paula. Yeah, go on. Someone says something.
10.
10. Okay. 15. Excellent. Yeah, 10. Okay, so we're about a 10, 15 mark. Okay, so that statistic actually came out from a CFO Pulse from Gartner, those of you that know that organization. And Gartner released that last January. And that was 3 years. And it's 12 months later from that. So we're now at, well, it's February, isn't it? So we're now at about 2 years' time. And I know you're thinking, Richard, who is this guy? Where's he getting his statistics? 60% of the finance jobs are not going to be disappearing in 2 years' time. That's ridiculous. But we're not specifically saying that those jobs are going to disappear. But what we are absolutely saying is that the skills required to do the job that we're doing are changing radically. And someone who is now using AI as a tool in their back pocket to complete the requirements of your job will outperform you 2 to the 10x if you're not using this very powerful tool. Okay, so the things you're doing in your day-to-day will change astronomically, almost unrecognizably within the next 2 years, absolutely, because you're using this superpower tool that now exists and is at all of your fingertips immediately. Now, to prove that, you all have access to a frontier LLM in your sort of secure network inside .net or .uk right now. And Ellie's going to very kindly drop the URL link that is the same for everyone. And it will open M365 Copilot chat. Okay. So this got switched on in September last year. So it's not long there. And some of you will be aware of it. And you'll all know just a little bit about Copilot. So Copilot, and what I do with that link, by the way, open it, bookmark it. And I'll show you how to use it shortly as part of this session. But what I would say is Copilot is not an LLM. Okay, it's not a large language model. The purpose of Copilot is to make Microsoft products easier for you to use. But what happened in this page only is that Microsoft, before GPT was published, gave 10 billion to GPT to be created. And what they got for that was the ability to insert a frontier LLM. So currently we're at version 5.2. This is version 5 that is in this, like mounted on top of Copilot, if you like. And then when that page loads at the top right, you'll see either try GPT-5 or something in the top right, or you'll see the words auto. Okay. And if you're not sure if you've got it, you can type and ask it. But the key here, and the most impressive thing, is that when you finish this session, you will immediately have a frontier LLM, the possibility to do a lot of your activities 2 to the 10x to what you were doing yesterday by using this AI, and it's within your secure environment, which is often and always been a barrier up to September at this point, because you don't want to be using external GPT services for work. So this has access to your SharePoint, your emails, all these other bits and pieces. It's about learning how to work and use that. So that's the end of the session. Thanks very much. You're welcome. Come on. No, okay, we've got a bit more to do. Okay, so what we're going to go for now is talk about process optimization. Isn't that exciting? Great. Okay, so what is process optimization and why are we talking about it? So if you could raise your hand if you have had formal process optimization training. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Genuinely, I've been running this since April last year. About 1,500 people I've put through this. Chris Barker is the first one to put up his hand, so I've got to hear this answer. Chris, where did you have formal process optimization training?
The Insurer LV.
Insurer LV. I will be looking that up. That's fascinating, and thank you. You sort of disproved my point, but I welcome the information. But essentially, what we're saying here is, it is extraordinary that one person out of 50 has this training, yet everyone from Band 2 right up to VSM is required to understand and be able to do this skill. What we're going to do is give you this skill today. And the benefit is, because we have AI now, and we didn't have it before, because we have AI now, that transforms how achievable doing that is. I'm going to go through that. Okay. Right. So what I want to talk about now is what a process is. Okay. So what is a process? Shout out, type in the chat. What is a process? Yes, please, Samantha.
I'm going to try without AIing it, and so it's going to be really obvious that I've not.
Good.
That's what a roadmap, a step-by-step process, a step-by-step instruction of how to do something.
Yes, it is. Any addition to that?
No, because I use the word process, so that's where I've struggled.
No, you bang on. You're all good. Anyone else want to add to that? Chris? Oh, you can't do it. You've had the training. Go on then. See if you get it.
Okay.
Go on. No, please.
Oh no, sorry. I was going to say. I think what previous speaker described as a procedure. So I think you need to be careful to distinguish a process from a procedure. So a process is a series of steps to get from an input to an output, essentially.
Almost,
Yeah.
Chris. Is there any other? There's a key. I found it. Vanessa Dallas, congratulations. First and foremost, a process is repeatable. Okay, it's always repeatable. It can be followed from a set of instructions. Absolutely, Sam. Ensures proactivity, ensures the controls are enforced, but it is inherently and always repeatable. So what's not a process? So responding to emails, reactive forecasting, paying the bills after being asked, these sorts of things are not processes. So we wouldn't seek to automate them. And separating these activities is a very important first step. Okay. So when we think about how processes exist, generally what we find is like, what you think is happening with a given process is not what is actually happening. And only through mapping that process step by step can we start getting a written down concrete idea of exactly what is happening with a given process. Okay, and we go through these following stages to map, analyze, and optimize. Okay. Now, there's different ways of doing and documenting different processes. Ever remember before AI came along, we paid loads and loads of money to external consultants for them to come in and draw these extremely intricate, they took months to do it, intricate swim lane diagrams of all the different things that exist. And then they present it back to you, and then they, finish whatever they got contracted to do and then leave, and everyone cracked on with the thing they were doing before. Okay, that was the old version of process optimization. Okay, the second one, the dynamic options element, it's a process checklist, like an Excel spreadsheet, and you'll all be pleased to hear that's exactly where we're going next. Just your basic Excel spreadsheet, lovely rows and columns. Okay. because we don't actually need all of these different options, process and flow diagrams and all the rest of it. They're very structured, they're very hard to change, and essentially they're very hard to analyze and assess and resolve. What we're going to do is dynamic options, so process checklists in Excel, okay? And the first thing to note about this is with optimization, generally back when we were doing RPA sort of stuff, first sort of leap was always to automate it. That is the absolute last thing we should be doing. The first thing is mapping that process. The second thing is simplifying that down. The next thing is looking at all the processes that you've mapped and simplified, and then standardizing, trying to make all of them similar. And we're going to do all this with AI today. Okay. Then, and only then at the end, we can talk about automation. And that's the last bit. Okay. Great. Ellie's going to put in the chat a link to the resources page. And if you scroll to the bottom of that web page, you'll find this as an Excel template. And you can see the sort of thing that we're going to ask you to do. This is a paper reimbursement form and the process attached to it. Okay. And you can use a blank Excel spreadsheet if you'd like instead. You don't have to use this template, but it's nice to have a template, isn't it? Okay. So this is going to be very basic, but what I would say to you is each of those steps, you've got to provide as much context as you possibly can within the time given. Okay. Does anyone know what AI prompting is and can describe that in one sentence? Okay. AI prompting is the way you ask your LLM or agent a question. So you've just got the link for M365 chat. If you type in there, fix this process, it's about paper reimbursement, cheers, bye. It's going to give you as flippant and casual answer as you have asked it. When we think about prompting, and this is a growing significant skill, is that the more detail, the more context, the extra 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes you spend in putting all of this information into your question when you ask it at the beginning, the better and more detailed answer. And we're going to touch on a little bit of this. I've seen 1,000, 1,500 word prompts. When you see these really weird AI videos come up that they're extremely detailed and very realistic and all of this is a very significant problem. So when you think in a work context, when you're entering in a process, you're going to have your mapped process, but you're also going to want to put all your constraints in, all of the systems you don't have access to, all of the things you can't do, all of the things you can do, and think about the outputs as well. The great news is you don't have to be really good at that. You can do a little hack. So what you can do is when you got your thing that you want to essentially prompt to your AI, you go, please create me a prompt at the beginning, and then you write down all of your nonsense and get your whole head on a page. And what it will print back to you is a AI optimized prompt for all of the stuff you've given it. That is what you copy in and give to the AI to get your response. That might be a bit more involved, but if you use your agent to provide and construct your question for the agent, it does actually provide far better outputs. Okay. And this is the next thing that we'll be doing. So lots of detail, steps. You can see the roles as well on the right hand side, the different people. So we've got about 50 people on this. So we're going to split you into breakout groups. Okay. And what we're going to need you to do is when you're in those groups, if you could assign someone that's going to be a scribe. Okay. And then between you, you're going to pick a process. It can be one person's process. It can be a familiar process. It can be just in one organization's process. But if you could try to document and write down as much detail as you can, step by step in this sort of format, that would be great. I'll give you about 8-9 minutes to do that. Okay. Please pick a finance process if you can. Someone picked making the best cup of tea. It was very funny and we had good fun, but it's not quite as relevant to what we're trying to do here. So if you try and think of a real process and go through into the detail, 8-9 minutes is not as long a time as you would think. So really try and spend time getting all those items down. Then what we're going to do, if you're the scribe, if you could do that either in an Excel spreadsheet or whatever, and then we're going to get you to copy and paste all of each group is going to copy and paste all of this back in the chat, and then we're going to get to work with AI. Okay. Right. Ellie, how are we looking on the groups?
Yeah, we've got 10 rooms and about 4 or 5 people in each. So are you ready to go on that one?
Delightful. Okay. Right. See you all in 8 to 9 minutes, and cue awkward 10 seconds or so while everyone's allocated and sent to rooms. Have fun and enjoy your new colleagues for the next 9 minutes. Right. See you in a bit. Thanks. There's always one. Don't
Sorry,
worry,
Matthew.
We're out. Good, you're all back and some laughter coming in, which means you've made many friends. So very pleased about that. Right. Could our scribes please raise their hands? I think there'd be about 9 or 10 of you. Fantastic. Okay, great. So all those scribes, so I'm going to do a few more slides, give a bit more context to the process optimization bit and what we're going to do with AI. During that time, please can all the scribes copy and paste from their spreadsheet or tool into the chat. Please don't copy, like do screenshot, please just copy the words, because we're going to need to extract those words and use them for the AI. At the top of your post, could you put what the process is that you decided to do? And if you'd like to do a team name, you can also enter that at the top. If not, I'll just address you by your scribe's name. So if you could go ahead and chuck those in the chat, all of you, and I'll just do a couple more bits and pieces while that's happening. Okay, so 7 wastes of lean. So when we're thinking about prompting or what we're telling our, AI to do in terms of helping us redesign this process, we're going to try to give it a framework for how it's going to identify opportunities, or in this case, wastes within that process. This is an example of the 7 wastes of lean. So what this looks like is it might help or prompt the AI to spot certain types of waste. For instance, waiting would be an approver of something on annual leave for 2 weeks. Overproduction, the 70-page report that no one reads, for example. Transportation, so humans copying data manually and uploading to other systems when they don't necessarily need to be doing that at all. Okay, so these are all, this is a side tool for you to be able to, if you find it useful, prompt your AI agent to use that. This is essentially what I was talking about earlier and what we're going to do. Thankfully, now we don't need to use expensive consultants to map our processes. We can do it all ourselves because we've got AI to help us redesign them. But the first thing we need to do is not jump straight to the automation bit. It's to simplify what we've got, standardize the similar processes, and then you're in a position to be able to automate at the end. Okay. This is a breakdown. You see those 3 central cubes are essentially a repeat of what you saw on the previous slide. When I've got a bit of time, we're going to essentially build this out into an end-to-end deployment that you guys can do in your finance teams, and we'll distribute that as part of one NHS finance for anyone that wants to use it to make it a bit more of a structured framework to do at scale. Okay. I'm on the way to making that better. So how can we make it better? So what we're going to be doing is, when we think about the old way of doing this and the new way, the key difference here is because we can use AI, we can get it done a huge amount quicker. And we can also put in all of those reasons why you can't transform or improve a process in this certain way. I don't have access to that system. I can't do it this way or the other. The thing about AI agents and this technology is it doesn't sleep, it doesn't rest. And so if you give it all these problems that were previously insurmountable, all of these problems are just caveats and conditions to getting to the optimum solution. So you will always arrive at the most efficient process from where you started, so long as you give it all the context and information you have in your head about why you can't do it. There's a great opportunity here because we need to get comfortable with machines doing 80% of that low value work. What we're doing here and where you're actually needed. A lot of the finance departments are needed, and there's a whole separate presentation that I do around where we are moving with AI at a macro level. If we think about the FDP, if we think about the capabilities of AI that are coming towards us at a various rate of knots, where are we as a finance team best put and located? It's a huge requirement in data quality, opportunities for transformation, allocation, costing allocation and production. All of these requirements are massively needed in terms of your skill set that you've got now. So we're looking to, help you automate all of these repeatable steps that exist, because you're really, really needed in another area. And I can talk about that if you want in a future presentation as well. I'm also going up and down everywhere to speak to different teams about that as well. You'll hear more about that as we get there. What I want to look at now is the processes that you've done. So hopefully you've all pasted these in. And as I'm looking through all of these, can you all have a look at them all and give a thumb up to the one you want me to do? Hopefully the most detailed, the most useful one that you want me to see me, and the one with the most thumbs up, I'll copy and begin getting after that process. So the first one we've got SAP Notes, we've got process of producing a budget holder report. Nice. Yeah. I'll be moving meeting to my mobile. That's great. I hope you're enjoying it from your mobile. Patient dialysis transport reimbursement. Ooh, that's a good one. And that's very detailed as well. Nice. Claire's raising standard debtors form. Excellent. Justine, create journal, upload to Ledger. So if you could all give a thumbs up to the one you want to see me do. Perhaps not Azim's, given that's one stage, like Azim. And then we've got Paula's. Yeah, that's great. So that's a paper reimbursement form. I think that's taken from the template. So Paula, Claire, and Stuart. Not sure what process that is. Maybe that is the paper reimbursement form, but I'm not sure.
It wasn't taken from it. It's Claire's process anyway.
Claire, what was the actual process that you were mapping in that one?
So the process is paying patients who've come in to give their time as part of a clinical trial. So they get paid subsistence and travel, and it's a shocking process.
I bet it is.
I've already have an idea at the moment of how to improve it, but I'm hoping that there'll be something even, something that much more advanced.
Absolutely.
That I haven't started.
Well, the benefit of this is I'm going to pick one of these, and then you guys can have a crack and go in the background while I'm doing this and see how you get on. So online patient portal from Imperial there. Okay, there's loads here. This is really good. So can anyone see which has got the most thumbs up? So I don't have to scroll up and down. Anyone see which says 3 on Justine's, 6 on patient dialysis? I think is that what someone was going to say? Someone was shouting out. So
yeah,
patient dialysis looks the biggest one. Okay, great. So I'm just going to copy all of that right now. Okay, so I'm going to go to my browser. So this is the link I sent you. You all got bookmarked now.
The meeting game can have a problem. Salur baji.
I think if you could put yourself on mute, I think, thank you very much. Okay, so what we've got here is the link that Ellie shared with you just now. So those of you that haven't been here before, this is accessible within .net and .uk. It's got access to documents, etc. And the top right, you've got auto. So you can see quick response, think deeper, and you've got other GPT models here. Okay, so auto is going to decide whether you want a quick response or think deeper based on the question. And what you've got is the chat open here. There's different tools you can do as well. So you can create images, get the analyst out, all the rest of it. And this is sort of your basic, if you haven't used it before, sort of chat GPT format within Copilot. Okay, so this is the place I would encourage you to use. So what we're going to do is a very, very small, simple prompt here. And we're going to put in these details. So whose process have we decided the patient dialysis transport? Whose process is this? If you could Make yourself known.
It's mine.
Hello. What is your role in relation to this process? What would your job role be for this?
So I'm the financial services manager for the trust, and I've been sort of pulled in to help streamline the process. And I'm trying to design at this point in time the timesheet for how it's all going to work, but also put together the process from the patients handing the expenses sheet to getting paid. So it's basically a new pilot whereby patients will get 45 pence per mile for coming in for renal dialysis.
Brilliant. I'm not going to do all of that context live, but essentially all of this information is very, very important. So this is sort of gives you a picture of when you're prompting, get all of it in there. And we talked about getting all that in there in a disorganized fashion. That's fine. But instead of asking the actual question at the top, we go, can you create me an optimized prompt for all this information? And it'll come back in an organized way. And that's what we ask our AI. So bear with me on this. I'm just going to do a lightweight one here. Thank you for that information, though. Sounds like a very fun task you've been set. So what we're going to do is we're going to paste in what I copied here. Yeah. So we've got the background here. We want to redesign the following process: patient dialysis, transport, reimbursement. And then essentially what we've got here is the end of the process. And we've got, please do the following. So it's important we talk about outputs as well. So what do we actually want back from the AI? Do we want a solution? Do we want broken down steps? Do we want challenges, outcomes, outputs, difficulties, all of these other items? So please do the following. So we try and be as descriptive as we can. By the way, if this is all very simple for anyone watching, feel free to grab one of the other processes in the chat, get that up as well, chuck it all together, copy what I'm doing along. Ellie will have copied that prompt in, and you can, I'll come to you in a second, you can share us where we're at, okay? So, diagnose what's broken, suggest simplified standardized version. I've asked for a bullet list. Recommend low or no code tools. So we want something that's not going to require massive amounts of Python or HTML. Outline prerequisites and data needed to enable full automation. Return the answer in a table with columns. Lovely. Okay. So we've been really descriptive about this. Now we're going to fire that off. Okay. Copilot's going to have a think using GPT-5 and come back with an answer. What I'll do is I'll copy that, because it might be quite hard for you to see, into the chat, whatever comes back. And you can see this sort of the temporary sort of words it prints out when it's responding is something called chain of thought. Those of you that are paying for GPT or have used similar services like this, while it's thinking, you can see it almost have a conversation with itself in terms of the rationale. That's quite a terrifying and also fascinating thing to look at if you've got a large or deep research project. So you can set it onto, for instance, think deeper, which can go away for, 3-4 minutes. There's an even one bigger one on GPT. It goes away for like half an hour, scans websites for like 40-50 websites, can create sources, and the capability is huge. This isn't quite doing that just yet. However, there are different tools. There's analysts and get insights from your data. Very interesting one for finance folk. This is your opportunity to start playing with this. Okay, so we've got something's come back from Copilot. So we're going to copy all this out. Hopefully it'll help me with the formatting. And actually there's a copy button right at the bottom usually. So you can see all this stuff that's come back. So I'm just going to copy all of that and then paste that into the chat so you can have a look. Okay. Now, whether you're involved in this process or not, you can see it. So I'm really keen to hear what people's immediate thoughts are on the usefulness, appropriateness, whether this is good, better than expected, or less good. And we're going to critique this answer. Any limitations? Sorry, I didn't catch the name of the person whose process was. It's hard to see who people are speaking. Alison, is that you with your hand up, or is there someone else? Sorry.
It's me, Jen.
Jen, hi Jen. Sorry, I found you. Yeah, there's a lot of small boxes on this, so I wasn't sure where it is. Jen, if you're looking at that, if you're looking at that in terms of the response, how are you feeling about that? And anyone else, just have a good read of that and see if it's all right, it's not very good, or this could be better, or actually this is all right. Just have a look through in terms of that solution, and then we can go for the next bit.
it's actually come up with some of the things we've thought about that we can't do, like the things with Microsoft Forms. So yeah.
Great. So talk to me about that, the things you can't do. Let's get on with that. So what are the things that you can't do?
Microsoft Forms at present.
You aren't allowed Microsoft Forms? Good Lord, who's your DOF? South Tyneside and Sunderland. Right, I'll
It's
have a
not the
word with
fact
them.
it's not the fact we can't, it's the patients. So a lot of them want paper-based. So it's, yeah. Like I
They
say,
want paper-based.
it's
Yeah,
pilot,
okay.
so we are going to stop, but we will be going electronically at some point. So there'll be an option of two.
So, okay, this is a really good example. Okay, so we struggle with Microsoft Forms because patients say they want paper-based forms. I don't know anyone that wants paper over scanning a QR code and entering it on their phone while they're half on Instagram or whatever they do in their daily time. So I understand absolutely, like, you know, that's the general objection we feel from, you know, patients, but this will be interesting to see what it says. What other objections or issues that you've observed in that? And anyone else, please shout out as well. Go on, generally, any others?
The quick win, weekly submissions isn't a quick win, it's more labour intensive.
So which is the quick wins? Which one? The weekly submissions?
Yeah, that's not a quick win.
Submissions are not a quick win. Could you say why they're not quick? That's not a quick win?
Because you would end up doing the same process 4 times for each patient, because we only do 1 monthly back submission.
Brilliant. Anything else we're thinking about? Anyone else got any observations on that solution?
Sorry, Richard, you've got WN instead of win.
Thank you very much. And my because is spelled wrong as well. Yeah, it's yeah. Thank you very much.
It's actually come up with a move to weekly rolling reimbursement runs. It's one of the options that we would like to do, where if it's the same person doing the same monthly submission, that it just becomes a regular rolling reimbursement.
Fantastic. Are there any other ideas that come up that haven't appeared here that you'd be interested to explore a little further? Like anything that, you know, you would expect to see here that's not there?
Love the order.
Last question, I promise. That's all right. Okay. So this is what I'm trying to illustrate to you, I suppose, is that whether it's going to come back with essentially all of your processes that you're going to put in, it's going to say, oh, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. Now, previously, that's where we got to the consultant sort of areas, like do this and go, well, we can't, to go, okay, well, thank you, goodbye, that was great. But what we've got here is something that will always relentlessly attempt to and will succeed to work out within all your constraints how you could possibly do it. So got this stuff coming in. It's adapted the process. Still talking, so I'm going to copy that back in. But I think every single process will have the similar blockers. For instance, you know, I'll just use Power Automate. We don't have Power Automate bits and pieces. But ultimately, what you can come out with is if you imagine your, you know, even your sub team or your whole finance team were mapping all of these processes, you could get ultimately to say an ABC stage of if all of the systems and all of the things that we couldn't use or can't use stayed the same, this is what we could get this process to, and we could ask the AI to produce estimate how much time it takes you currently and how much time it would save. You come up with a B in a business case and essentially say, look, if we got access to XYZ, we could do this instead. Okay, so what you're balancing and rolling up is essentially we've got a now state because we've mapped it, and we've also got a possible future state with 3 options that we could move to. So this will always be possible to essentially, it's quite a bit come from that. So I'll paste that in there, Jen, you can have a look. But as you can see from here, it's never just a no, okay, well, that's the end of that. It is ever ending. And I'm sure there's a lot more caveats and items that you're coming up against in your conversations in terms of finding a solution, but perpetually, ultimately will find a solution that you're happy with, so long as you're sticking with it and always informing it of the issues that mean that it won't work. I hope that makes sense there. Are there any other processes that people want to go into? Does anyone have any questions? Has anyone run one in the background while I've been... Felicia?
Yeah, thank you.
Apologies if I pronounced your name wrong.
No, it is Felicia. You got it right. Thank you. So I did actually run this particular one in Copilot, and I've got completely different.
Oh, bang it in! Absolutely, chuck it in.
Okay.
So,
All right, I'll do that.
yeah. If you could like, click the copy, chuck it into the chat, and I'll grab it and I'll add it into this. So dual LLM running, or this is what we're doing. We want as many options and opportunities from different ones. What I would be really interested in, Felicia, if you copied both of these prompts that are already in the chat, for example, and then put it into yours and be like, I asked another LLM this question and it came up with this. What do we think? So it's essentially, again, this is all context, all these different opinions and differing questions and different options and routes. You want to gather all of them and put them into a central thing, because you essentially want all the information and suggestions that exist. This is all original content coming out of an AI. And if one particular LLM is briefed in a certain way and all the rest of it, then essentially you want to consider all options. There's a number of different items to consider when you're working with an AI or an LLM, and generally some of them you hear about hallucinations. So hallucinations is quite a thing. It's, oh, my AI is lying to me or whatever, all the rest of it. That's all to do with essentially how the LLMs are trained currently. So LLMs are trained like dogs. So if you want a dog to do something, you give it a treat. The LLMs are trained in a very similar way. So when they're learning all of this information and they're asked and tested with questions and all of this stuff, they want to get the answer right loads, because they're taught that they get a treat for that. So they're a positive reinforcement. Okay. Now, the problem with that is when you ask a question that the LLM either doesn't necessarily have the time capacity for, or doesn't quite have all the information to do the calculations in the right way, it sort of gets, X% of the way there and goes, yeah, we'll put this in because I really want my treat, right? We're not motivating it in that way. But that is about the prompting, really. Okay. So instead, what I've started doing, for example, is when I've got an answer I think is really good, what I add to the end is to go, okay, give me a percentage confidence in your answer being accurate and successful. Okay. And then invariably it'll come back going, okay, well, I've got, this is the right answer. Absolutely. I'll give it 85% confidence. And then you start chipping away at that. Okay, so what would that look like if we got another 5%? How do we get to 95% or 99% confidence? And it starts critiquing itself. Okay. Asking it to list sources of information and how it got to a certain decision or recommendation. You've got to work with these things, absolutely. The processing power is extraordinary. But essentially you as prompters, and prompt engineering is an entire skill, but essentially if you begin that journey, you will and ultimately can ask the questions in the right way to get the best answer you would want out of that. So anyone got any observations on the various answers? Thanks, Felicia, for pasting that in. I'm going to copy that now. And we're going to chuck that in.
Richard, could I just ask? I mean,
absolutely, please.
It's a whole new world. I'm kind of really impressed. Does strike as it's very text heavy, not diagrammatic?
Yep.
Is that something that can also help you with?
Yeah. So this is the Copilot version. So we're thinking in a work sphere. Outside of Copilot, if you paid for GPT, don't put any financial information or sensitive information in there. There's a whole world of all sorts of diagrams and all the rest of it you can create. If I had more time, I'd show you an incredible canonical visual representation of the federated data platform and how it's supposed to work. It is extremely complex, but that's AI created as an image. In terms of the designer, you can see in the tools here, David, you've got the analyst and you also got the designer. So you can start creating images, diagrams, flow diagrams. To get really good at that, it's all about prompting. So if you start leaning into how you're asking questions, that's extremely important. So there is a lot more that you can come from all of this. You can also start building your own agents, but that's another level. But the visual element, if you gave it a load of try after this call, right? Give it a load of your information that you need to do a report on and ask for it to produce a PDF PowerPoint presentation on it. Okay. It's a case of beginning, absolutely. So we're going to put Phoenicia. Any other questions, just start shouting them out. We've got 5 minutes left, so don't be shy. Another LLM suggested this. What do you think? Are there any good ideas to include? And what is your percentage confidence this solution would work? Okay, so we're LLM versus LLM. What fun. First time we've done that live. Any other questions? I think we're allowed to use Canva, which is more visual, David Plan. Yeah, don't know about your individual policies. Find out what you are allowed to use. This is a good, serious proposal complementing itself, but it doesn't know. And then it's going to do a critique of that, of your solution there, Felicia, and I believe it's going to probably get to a.
So Richard, it was actually in Copilot I used it, so it's the same thing you're using. So the Copilot agent at my end gave me that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, so it's the same sort of LLM breakdown, but you're gonna, you know, the way the thinking is always unique. It's not going to a box of answers like old style chatbots and coming up with it. These are intelligent machines, and the capability and variation is significant. So you're all, you know, just like humans would tackle problems in different ways, the LLMs are absolutely doing that. You probably, you know, when I'm trying to tackle a problem or solve a problem, I use same versions, different pages of the same, you know, engine and all the rest of it. So it's just about thinking about the best way to get to the optimum solution. Absolutely. There's so many of you left. Thank you so much for attending. I hope that was really good. Please fill in the feedback. I've got no idea how these things go unless you tell me. So and any further